Hey y'all, so we are back at the kitchen counter today because we are talking about Filofax again. Today I thought it would be fun to talk about kind of the basics, some tools, some resources that has really helped me find and implement a planning system that ultimately ended up working for me really well and that I've used for the last couple of years. And also I just wanted to touch briefly on like planning or planners more generally and how they can be for anybody, regardless of what your schedule looks like, what you're trying to keep track of. There is literally a system out there for you. Filofax planning planners don't have to be 100% calendar based, right? I think there's this misconception that you have to have things to plan. You know, you need to keep track of dates and what's happening this week, and that is just not the case anymore. I think when I first got into planners like 10 years ago, it was really difficult to find inserts for these ring-bound systems that weren't calendars. And as you know, a 18-year-old baker at the grocery store, I didn't really have anything that I needed to keep track of. So as much as I loved the ring-bound system, it was really hard for me to find a use for one, right? Well, nowadays, there's so much creativity and people that make products for these binders that you can have anything that you imagine in your Filofax. As an example of an alternative use for a planner, the A5 is probably one of the most versatile sizes because it is just a half a sheet of paper, right? You can print out anything that you need to keep track of, fold it in half, hole punch it, and then you can just, you know, hold your planner sideways, open up the half sheet of paper, and you've got your information in there. So if you're looking for like an alternative use, the A5 size is going to be really a good jumping off point. So for my A5 size, back to what I keep in here, this is my house management binder. I keep all of the warranties on like my kitchen appliances. I keep track of the maintenance that I do around the house, like when was the last time I got the dryer vents cleaned or the gutters cleaned, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. I also have a ton of blank paper in here so I can take notes, I can journal, I can, you know, do whatever I need to do, and it's so easy to find paper for this because it is a really standard size A5. Some other uses for planners aside from actual calendar planning, in my pocket size, I have gift guides. So for my partner, keeping track of what gifts that I might want to get them, what their sizes are, those kinds of things, favorite colors, shoe size. I have a little thing in here where I keep track of those specific things. This has nothing to do with planning. I have a habit tracker in here. So like, when was the last time, you know, I went to the dentist? I put that in here. And there are so many what they call lifestyle inserts available now that if you want to keep track of your health, if you want to keep track of your fitness, if you want a meal plan, if you want to keep track of your mental health, of anything that you can imagine that, you know, there's a keeping track of component, you're going to find a lifestyle insert for pretty much all of these planners. I would say that this size is a little bit more difficult because the page size is so small, but a lot of brands, even the big ones like Filofax and Franklin Covey, they have lifestyle inserts for your planner. So if you want to have one of these like beautiful little agendas in your life, but you don't necessarily want it based around a calendar, you're not going to have to go very far anymore to find an insert that is probably going to work for you. And you can also just get plain paper and journal, keep track of notes, you know, put your grocery list down, rip it out, throw it away. You don't need to keep, you know, everything that you put in here. Don't be afraid to get one of these ring-bound planners if you don't have things to plan or you don't have things that you necessarily need to write down and come back to. These are so versatile that if you need just a dump all place for information, for thoughts, for, planning ahead, or any number of subjects, you're going to find something that works for you, and you're not going to have to try too hard, because there are so many wonderful people in the planner community that make inserts, that have guides, and you're really not going to regret having a really, really handy place for any information that you need. Getting now into the things that have really helped me find a system that worked and the tools that I've used. These are really basic, so I think if you watched my planner setup, you'll saw I have a Cricut paper cutting machine. That is absolutely not a necessity. I use that for all kinds of projects, but it really helps me make dividers and other things for my planner. Not a necessity, but it definitely makes it a lot more fun. We're talking about like basic, okay? So we're gonna start at the most base level, I think, for a planner, and that is a reliable pen. There's nothing worse than you go out, you need to write something down, and your pen is a dud. I love pens. I love stationery in general, and it has taken me quite some time to find a pen that I absolutely love. I really love the Sharpie pens. They don't bleed and they don't feather too much. Planner paper, especially if you buy it like from the bigger brands, are fairly delicate paper, very thin. So you have to be kind of conscientious of the ink, the feathering, all that kind of stuff, so you can use both sides of a piece of paper. Theo's saying hello. Hi, buddy. He's kind of in his wild child stage right now. He's been like running around, so I don't want to pet him because I'm afraid he'll bite me. So base. Find a pen that you absolutely love, that is reliable, that fits in your planner. Number one thing you're going to need. In that same vein, if you are a color coordinator, you're going to want to have handy some good highlighters. Now, like I mentioned before, planner paper, because they're designed to hold a lot of information, the pages are fairly thin, fairly delicate. So if you use like your typical highlighter, I don't even know what the brand is, Pentel maybe, it's going to bleed through the page, and it's going to bleed, and then you're not really going to be able to use the back side of the page. And if you're not careful with some really inky highlighters, it's going to go through a couple pages, right? So I have found, and I didn't find this, somebody on the internet figured this out, but this brand Zebra makes these. They're called the Zebra Mild Liner. These are the best highlighters for thin, delicate pages. Hi. Mwah. Because they are really nice for color coordinating. Like the color comes across really nicely. Of course, I say this, I literally use like the gray. But for like the colored ones, it's very colorful. Like you can actually see it's got a nice color, but it's not bleeding through your pages, ruining your setups, because it's a really nice, like thin ink. I don't really know how to explain it, but it doesn't really bleed. So in the basic world, a good pen, a good highlighter, I would recommend having both of them on you at all times, because it does really help switching, or having some way to indicate like priority or whatever you might want to indicate with a highlighter. In a Filofax, they're going to have one built-in pen loop, okay? And it, depending on which planner you get, it might not have any elastic to it. So for example, the Malden from Filofax, it is a leather pen loop. So there's no stretch, right? So you might want to find like a really nice, thick, fancy pen that you really enjoy using and that inspires you to use it. I'm one of those people, but unfortunately for size compatibility, whatever, they just put these like full leather pen loops, which is kind of Not great, but is what it is. I found a pen that slips in really nicely. So find a pen that fits, there or whatever. But another thing, because they only come with one pen loop, and it is like a product that I have like a stash of, is these adhesive pen loops. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Where's the lens? There it is. It's just a little, it's got sticky on one side, and it's a little thing, and it's just an extra elastic pen loop. You can't get really big pens. Again, I don't think you're going to get like a really throaty fountain pen through here. But these are really nice to have, and that is how I have two in my daily driver. It's how I have two pens in here. The Sharpie pen that I use, love, swear by, and then I've got one of my mild liners in here. And it is just really helps to have that extra something, that extra writing utensil with you at all times. One thing about a portable planner system is you kind of want it to be an ecosystem that is self-contained, right? So everything that you ideally need to kind of effectuate your planner system, you want within reach or kind of within the system. So having an extra pen loop is huge. I attach these, the other item that is definitely not necessary to planning, but that helps, is a laminator. I cut out little pieces of scrapbooking paper and I laminate them, and then I stick the pen loop on here, and this just creates like a really nice solid piece for the pen loop, because you don't want to do this just on plain paper because it will rip. But if you have like a little piece of cardstock that you can laminate, hole punch, you've got an extra pen loop, and it is just like, it's just a really good way of putting it in there. And you can also put the pen loop like halfway between all of your inserts, so it sits above the pen loop that's built in. So that is a really helpful tool to have, is this extra pen loop. Find a place in your planner that it will stick and be secure and fit in the closure system that you've got, and you will be so pleased to have an extra writing utensil with you at all times. Next up, in the very basic but very necessary tools to have in your planner, and you're not going to be able to see this because it is literally a clear piece of plastic, but this is what it's called. I don't know if it's going to be backwards for you, but it is a transparent Flyleaf. Now, here's one out of the package. This one has been well loved and used. As you can see, it's got adhesive all over it, but it is just a clear piece of plastic, floppy piece of plastic. But having a couple of these in your planner to put sticky notes on, game changer. Because sometimes what I need to put on a sticky note is like garbled nonsense that makes sense to me that day, but doesn't necessarily need to live in my planner. So having a place to put a sticky note that's kind of out of the way, that it's secure onto just like this little flimsy piece of plastic, is actually really helpful. So I would definitely recommend having, they call them Flyleafs, or I think most planners even come with some of these. So helpful to have, and that kind of, again, leads on to another planner necessity, and I keep them in my planner because I need to have them, and that is just a large, it doesn't have to be large, but to go along with your Flyleaf, I always have sticky notes, a whole pad of them stuffed into the back pocket of my planner, because I need to write down like some weird something, a website name, rip it off, put it on my Flyleaf, write it down, and then once that piece of information is just like out of my brain, don't need it anymore, it's easy to just toss. So I would say that those are like the main tools to keep inside of your planner that like have really helped to make things convenient, again, to like have this ecosystem that's self-contained that is going to be really convenient. And there are so many other tools that you can use that maybe will make your life a little bit easier. But just those simple things for me have made a huge difference. So that is kind of what's inside the planner that has helped. Now, looking kind of to some tertiary tools, a hole punch. If you're not planning necessarily on printing your own inserts, that's okay. You definitely want to have one of these with you though, or in your office or wherever you plan, because sometimes you can just hole punch something and shove it in your planner, and it's really convenient. If you're working with A5 size, you can print something off, or you get something in the mail, hole punch in your planner. Easy as that. For the personal size planner, say, your sister sent you a 4x6 of your niece or nephew's school picture, and you're like, that's cute, I want to have that with me. 4x6, hole punch it right in the planner and it'll fit perfectly. So it's just like, it's kind of helpful even if you don't plan on having like your planner, making your own stuff. It is helpful to have if you have a ring bound planner, because it will eventually, you'll see something, think, oh, that's about the right page. That's about the right page size. Like, I'm going to hole punch that and put it in my planner. And it will like make you happy to be able to do that really quickly. So that's kind of like the only really like external tool that we're going to talk about. Last up, and it is because I am both really sentimental about things that I work on, mostly just like, if I put the work into something, I want to keep it. Even if it's just like the most mundane, like everyday stuff. And that's how I feel about my planner. Like, I go through and I do all this work to keep track of my notes and to like be organized. I'm like, especially by the end of the year, I'm really sentimental about like having that milestone of like completing my planner. So this is not Filofax brand. This is a Franklin Covey archival binder. I have 6 of these now, full of my inserts. And it's funny, Filofax makes some, but they're terrible. Do not recommend. Franklin Covey is another planner brand. I don't think I've had any of their actual planners before. And if I did, I didn't keep it. But archival binders from Franklin Covey, highly recommend. It's, again, a kind of, the planner brands have used kind of the same paper sizes as well as the ring distance, so I can buy this and know that it'll fit. And then at the end of the year, I have my entire year put in this little binder, and then it goes up on the bookshelf because it's like, I completed it, I accomplished it, and here's like a little memento of that work that I did. So up on the bookshelf, I get to stare at it. I've got 6 years worth of them up there, and it pleases my, it pleases me. I don't know. Just like having that up on the bookshelf. So anyway, that is the last of kind of the things that have helped me. And those binders really, it just felt so weird, like putting all this work into these planners, and like sometimes I would decorate the weeks and I would have stickers and like all these fun little notes to myself, and it just felt weird, like at the end of the year, like throwing them away. So when I found these Franklin Covey binders, it just like really helped me feel like this work that I was putting into these binders was something that I got to keep and cherish, even if they go into the binder and up on the bookshelf and then I don't ever pull them back down. I'm embarrassed to say that I do actually pull them down sometimes and just like, oh, I remember that panic attack. So kind of in summary of this video, these planners, whichever size that you pick up, you're gonna find an insert, and that's kind of where you start, right? You pick the size that you think, this size, this paper size works for me. Once you find that size, then you're going to want to look on the inside. What do I want to put in here? Do I want to just journal? Do I want to keep track of something? And then go out and hunt for those inserts, or just go to the brand themselves, look up their lifestyle planner inserts, or just look up their inserts and see what do you think works for you, and go from there. I mean, once you have the size picked out and you've picked up some inserts that you think you're going to use, it's really just going to flow from there, and you're going to really find out what works best for you. So these are meant for everybody. You don't have to be a business person. You don't have to be really retrospective, introspective. You don't have to be really organized even. You just need to have the interest or the necessity to keep track of things, and you're gonna find something that works for you. Next up is the tools. Find things that you enjoy using, or that makes you happy, or that pleases your aesthetic. Keep those near to you and ideally in your planner so you can use them, and that will help you put to use the system that you've spent money and time building. The more of an enclosed ecosystem that you can make your planner, I think the more likely you are to actually use it. If you can carry it around and make it a habit, it's going to be so much easier than if you're needing to only use it in certain circumstances, because I feel like that is just limiting and you might fall out of the habit if it becomes too much of a chore to use. So next would really be to create an ecosystem that is as convenient for you as it can be, and you're really going to use it because it's ready for you. Well, guys, if you've made it this far, thank you so much to everybody who reached out to me asking for more planner videos. I hope that this is somewhat interesting to you. I know that a lot of you guys that I chatted with are like planner pros, so this was probably kind of a rehash of things that you already know, but around on my channel we don't really talk about, or at least we haven't talked about a lot, planners. So for those of my friends here that enjoy handbags or just my vlogs, hopefully you found this interesting. Again, something I really love, so I love to talk about it. If you enjoyed today's video, please like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Let me know what kind of planner videos you'd be interested in seeing in the future. I do have some ideas, but I would love to hear some input from you guys. If you wanted some more organized and less tangential videos or chatty videos, let me know in the comments, because I would love to make some more content about this subject. I do have Instagram and TikTok if you're interested in following me over there. My handle is @BVPDX. And as always, guys, until the next one, I'll see you later. Goodbye.